8:32 your time, and welcome back into the program. And joining me on the air right now is Michael Alden. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing good, doing good. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and your story. Michael has written a book that's called Ask More, Get More, and it's a best-selling book, and we are really happy to have you here this morning to talk with us about your book and all of your story. So basically what I want to do this morning, Michael, is kind of start things off by talking about your journey and becoming a success after living in poverty and just a really bad situation as you grew up. So tell me a little bit about that before we get into the successes of your life.
Oh, yeah, thanks very much. Well, I have a pretty interesting story. I grew up surrounded by crime, drugs, and violence. My mother's HIV positive. My stepfather died of AIDS. One of my brothers recently overdosed, from an opiate addiction. A kid that I grew up with in my neighborhood is in jail for life for murder. So I grew up in a really, really difficult situation. And, a lot of people would say, what happened was a lot of people kept asking me, said, Mike, what makes you so different? How did you make it out of the neighborhood?
Yeah, really.
People were really stuck within the neighborhood. One of the things that I realized when I looked at it was I'm actually no different than anybody else. What I realized was that I actually just think a little bit differently, and then I do things a little bit differently than most people. And ultimately, that's really what has propelled me to the level that I'm at now with my company, Blue Base Marketing. Where we were ranked in Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing companies in the United States.
Wow!
I went from nothing to generating tens of millions of dollars. And there's obviously a lot of heartache in between, but that's kind of like it in a nutshell.
That is amazing, and the story you told about your mom, your dad, and brother, and just all that. How did you keep from falling into the trap, as I say, of that type of lifestyle? How did you get out of that?
It's an interesting story. When I was writing the book, I gave it to one of my old high school teachers, and I showed it to him, and he said, "You know what, Mike? You were always one of those kids that kind of had it. You had that it factor. I always knew you were just going to be successful." And I disagreed with him. I said, I didn't have any special, I don't have any special genes or nothing within me is really that different. What I was able to do, which is unfortunately a lot of people aren't they don't see this when they're young, is I said to this old high school teacher, I said, it's because of people like you that actually cared about me and then taught me things. And then what I ultimately did was I implemented the things that they taught me, from my coaches to my parents to again some really influential teachers that I had throughout my life. They taught me things, and then ultimately I modified some of the things throughout my life. And so I really what I've really done is I've actually taken advantage of the things and the opportunities that were given to me.
Tell me about the adversity, and did it help you become a success?
Yeah, I was reading Malcolm Gladwell's latest book called David and Goliath, and he talks about, the little guy, and one of the things, one of his, hypotheses is that, adversity, truly does, build strength, and I think that's, a valid thing. When I grew up, in a neighborhood surrounded by crime, drugs, and violence, I needed to figure out a way, to make it. I had to, improvise. When I needed money, rather than, going and doing what some of my, friends were doing, which, by the way, I did, too. I wasn't the best kid when I was a little kid, but, I went out and I mowed lawns. Or in the wintertime, I went and shoveled driveways. Or, again, in the summertime, I had, lemonade stands. So I did everything. My first bike I bought was, collecting cans in the hot summer heat in Massachusetts. I was at beaches, digging through trash barrels, collecting cans so I could buy my first bike.
I got you.
That adversity and that it really humbles you when you're a young child. And as I grow older, I really appreciate that stuff. So even when I suffer adversity now, I call them temporary defeats, I kind of remember that stuff, and it's going to get better as long as you really truly take action and persevere.
Talking to Michael Alden this morning about his success story and his book, Ask More, Get More. What are the steps one should take to become a successful entrepreneur?
Well, it's funny. I was talking to somebody else recently about this, and one of the, I think, the most important things and I actually asked this gentleman to write for my blog, right? And he wrote this article, and he said, and it was titled "Passion Smashing." You don't need passion to be successful. And I said, listen, I cannot in good faith, put that on my blog, because I believe one of the most important things that you do need is you absolutely need passion.
Oh, I'll
because
agree.
If you're not passionate about something, then you're never going to be successful, And, the other thing, too, is when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times, especially when you're a young entrepreneur, people, have a tough time making a decision. There was this famous drummer, his name is Richard Christie, and he tells a story about he was trying to buy a basketball goal, a washer and dryer, and a fur coat, and he couldn't make a decision. He was like, yes, no, yes, no. Sometimes you just need to kind of like take the salad out of your mouth and make the decision. So when you're an entrepreneur, that for me, I think, is one of the most important things, is actually taking action. A lot of people, Larry, they dream, right? They say, I have this great dream, but no one really takes that step. And by the way, being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody, but you never want to be that guy that says, whoa, stop the clock, when you're 40, 50 years down the line saying, maybe I should have done that, but now I look back and I say, I can't stop the clock, I can't reverse it, and so again, you've got to take the action if you really, really want to do it.
All right, we're talking to Michael Alden, and this is Lucky Night on Straight Talk on Thunder Radio. And next question I wanted to ask you was one you kind of touched on just a moment ago. You weren't that perfect kid that, that maybe people might think you were. Oh, he was that type of kid. You said you made some mistakes along the way, and then you've learned from those and continued on. So what kind of helped you along the way in learning from a mistake or whatever that occurred to help you along in life?
Again, when I was a kid, right, I'm an old school hip hop fan, right? And I used to listen to this guy. He's a really obscure rapper named Cool the Candy Rapper. And one of the things that he said, and I'll get into it exactly, and it ties in. One of the things that he said is, if you have a pouch, you want to put your golden nickels and silver dimes in it. What that means is when you're suffering these temporary defeats, save for a rainy day, right? So like, when I make a mistake now, or when I made a mistake then, it's kind of like with people when they go on a diet, right? They go on a diet, and then the next day they go ahead and they eat a cheesecake or something, right? And they say, "Oh, forget it, my diet's out the window." Don't dwell on the mistakes. Mistakes are truly, if you really look at the silver lining. I talk about this in my book. If you look at the silver lining, every mistake or every temporary defeat you've ever suffered throughout your life, there truly is a silver lining. And it's very difficult to find the silver lining, when your entire life is surrounded by, despair and crime and drugs, and where you're living in a cardboard box or you're in a shelter. But truly, there really is a silver lining. And when you can find that silver lining, it really helps you change the way you think. And then ultimately, again, it's going to make you more successful. And then you say, hey, now, like, whoa, I'm thinking different, and things are changing in my life.
All right, I understand that you do infomercials.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that and some successful products and all that you've been involved in.
Well, so again, the name of my company is called Blue Base Marketing, and what we do is we market products and services on television via infomercial.
Okay.
It's those 30-minute infomercials that you see on TV. My infomercial is a little bit different. What we like to do is we like to go out and find a product that didn't jump the shark. It's something that's unique. And also can have a positive impact on people's lives. And so some of the big ones that are on TV right now, there's one called Androzine. I'm really proud of it. It's actually it's a male sexual health product. It's funny, people get a little weirded out by it, but it's done in a really clinical and classy way, and it's a real problem for men out there. So there's a problem, and we solve it with this product. Another one we have is called Arthro-D. It's a joint health product. Everybody has joint pain. It's really, it's really kind of troubling. There's a lot of reasons why people are suffering with the joint pain. But again, Arthro-D, it's been there, for a while. And at my company, Blue Base, the cool thing about my company, I think is what has made us successful, is we truly love what we do, right? The passion is there. But we also, as a business, we do everything, under one roof. So I produce the infomercials, I take the calls, I ship the product, I deal with the customer service. It's because, no one cares, Larry, as much as I do, or no one cares as much as we do. So if we were to sub all this stuff out, to other, fulfillment houses or call centers and stuff, you wouldn't get the level of service that I want our customers to get. I say to myself, if it were me, what would I want? In other words, if I was the customer, what sort of service would I want? I think, again, that's what, that's really propelled us from 5 people to 150 people, and going from nothing, to a $100 million company and ranked in Inc. magazine. And by the way, when I started the company, I had nothing. I had some credit cards and a little bit of money, but ultimately, at the end of the day, we were successful because we actually did have passion.
Let me ask you about this. What are steps necessary to become successful and well compensated at a job? Is it different from being an entrepreneur? In a business realm, is it different, entrepreneur or job? Is there some relation there?
Well, yeah, there is a big difference between an entrepreneur and, and working for somebody. I think I like to hire people that do have that entrepreneur, spirit, right?
Okay.
But
okay.
there's a lot of risk when you're being an entrepreneur. A lot of people, they can't take that risk, and a lot of it also depends on where they're at in life, I read a quote once that says the biggest risk is not taking one, right? Larry King, he was on, Howard Stern once, and he said, I've never, the last time I worked when I was 21 years old, when I was working for UPS. Again, it goes back to, having that passion within, your work environment and also within the entrepreneurship. But if you're in a work environment and you want more, right? So you want that, maybe you want the nicer office, maybe you want the promotion, maybe you want more money, right? A lot of people, they say, a lot of people feel entitled, right? They say, well, I'm worth, X amount of dollars. They tell a story in the book where, there's a difference between an opportunity, right, and a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
If you're given an opportunity at work and you're not necessarily compensated for it, or maybe it's not necessarily within your domain, but you can do it competently and you can do it in a way that's going to increase value in you and the company, go ahead and do it. Because in my book, I talk about how to increase your personal net worth. And how do you increase your personal net worth? You take what you have, you take what everybody has in the United States and all across the world. You take yourself, right? And then you build your own personal net worth. So when you're given that opportunity or even given a responsibility, don't go to your boss and say, well, I need to get paid more money, or I can't do this. I didn't go to school for this. If you can do it competently, take on that responsibility, take on that opportunity, whichever one it is. And then at the end of the day, Larry, at some point, your bank account will grow, and that's the thing. I have a lot of people, I got a lot of, the Y generations working for me, and they say, why aren't I making, $100,000 a year? Well, it doesn't just happen that way. You actually just have to work at it. So if you're going into your boss's office and you're looking for a raise or whatever it is, make sure you go in prepared so that you can show them, hey, look at all these things, that I've done, help out the company in a way, that didn't necessarily, I didn't ask for compensation. Hey, by the way, I'm not asking for compensation now, but when you go into your boss's office, you need to show them that you've increased your own personal net worth, right? Because now they think, that you are worth it.
Yeah.
But also that you added value to the company. And it can be the simplest things from making copies, right? To, in my world, coming up with a new and great idea that goes on TV. Whatever it is, you need to add value. And it's that simple. Don't ever turn down responsibility, and always take advantage of every opportunity that's given you. That's also one of the big differences from me and anybody else. When I was given an opportunity, I exploited it. It's not a bad thing. It's, there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of an opportunity. When you're given an opportunity, make sure you take advantage of it, because, again, you don't want to stop the clock and then come back one day and say, look, I booey that thing. I screwed it up, right? You want to take advantage of it.
Michael Alden, I appreciate you coming on this morning. We encourage folks to read your book, Ask More, Get More, and check out your info ads as well. And see.
One last thing I want to tell you. It's something special that I have going on right now, and I'm so excited to be on your show. Right now, for 1 week only, my book, again, it's a Wall Street Journal, USA Today, #1 on Amazon bestseller. For this week, it's only 99 cents. Okay, so
no way.
Barnes and Noble. You can go to Amazon. You can go to iBooks. It's only 99 cents. And again, if you want your life to change, if you want your children's life to change, if you want your family's life to change, spend the 99 cents because, and again, the testimonials that I'm getting, the endorsements that I have, this book truly is changing people's lives, and I'm really, really, excited about it. I'm glad you had me on the show, and I appreciate it.
Wow, 99 cents. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, that's Michael Alden talking with us this morning about his success story and the book called Ask More, Get More that he says this week, like on Amazon. If you want to go buy that book, he's selling that book for just 99 cents to help people out and be a entrepreneur or better person in the workplace, whatever. He's got many stories to tell you about inside that book that may be able to help you out. All right, thanks to him for joining us this morning, even though he got my name wrong. Okay, oh well. 8:47, I've been called worse. 8:47 your time, we'll be back.